Hey, Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja. I'm here with Josh Commander, one of our inspection ninjas from Knoxville, Tennessee, and he's going to help me answer a question that we had on one of our blog posts about properly ventilating your crawl space using your HVAC system. Stay tuned. So if you're new to Crawl Space Ninja, we talk about everything related to crawl spaces, waterproofing, encapsulation. So we hope you'll subscribe to our channel, ring that notifications bell, and follow us on Facebook. All right, Josh, so you've been with us how long now?
About a year and a half.
And your background is?
Been from the HVAC department.
Okay.
Kind of been around that a little bit, and some moving department.
So you're a little familiar with the HVAC and the crawl spaces and all that sort of stuff?
I am.
Now there for a long time, especially in Knoxville, there was a lot of HVAC contractors and home contractors going in and putting in a supply and a return from the HVAC system into the crawl space. Have you seen that done before?
I have seen that done, and it's, to me, is not suggested. You're bringing in a lot of outside air and dirt from the crawl space that you're circulating through the system that can cause this to run harder and not last as long.
Right, and the theory behind it is since your HVAC system dries the air in order to create colder air, you can use that system to dry the crawl space, but we found that to be ineffective. One of the questions, and I'll read it, it's from our blog, our crawl space encapsulation vent fan article that we did. And by the way, if you're new, we put out at least one article a week, so I'm going to put a link down below so you can read some of those articles that sometimes is different than our videos. But this is from Allie. It's a fairly long statement and question, so I'm going to read all of it to you. We just had our crawl space encapsulated with a 12 mil vapor barrier. It goes up the sill plate, the exterior walls are insulated, and an R12 foam board. There are only 4 vents in the foundation walls that are covered, and we installed a sump pump and dehumidifier. The crawl space is about 1,300 square feet. My question is, do we need to have an exhaust fan venting air out of the crawl space through the foundation, or the HVAC system installed pulling air through the crawl space, or is the air circulating from the movement of the air of the dehumidifier enough? So there's 3 options there. Number 1 is blowing air out. Number 2 is using a return in the supply from the HVAC. And 3 is doing neither of those and just letting the dehumidifier circulate air. What's your answer to that?
Well, my thoughts on that is, 1, looking at the code. If you're pulling up the R408.3 code on crawl spaces, the very first thing on there is an automatic ventilation system fan. Reasons for that are to create a negative pressure in the crawl space, to reverse the static stack effect, as well as to keep the air moving. Now, the dehumidifier is cleaning the air and moving it around the crawl space, but it can create a stagnant air if it is completely sealed. So you do want to have that ventilation fan in, drawing air out of the crawl space to keep a good constant circulation of air movement.
And as we mentioned earlier, having a return in a supply in the crawl space and using your HVAC system is not a good idea.
It's not a good idea just for wear and tear on the system. 1, more than likely your air conditioning system is not designed to handle the space of the crawl space. When they come out to give a air conditioning quote, we do what's called a heat load. If they did not include the crawl space in that heat load, more than likely your system's not large enough to cover it anyway.
So if this is a retro where my house is already built, my AC is already installed, and then some crawl space contractor comes in there and says, oh, cut a hole in there and use that to dry your crawl space, you just automatically undersize that unit.
Absolutely.
Or if it's the opposite, where you have it built as part of your building process and you have your HVAC come out and properly do the heat load, one of the things that I have found is that the homeowner becomes the problem, because in the fall, you're not going to run your AC, right? You're going to open your windows. In the spring, you may not run the AC. Exactly. AC's not running, it's not dehumidifying. That's right. So even though you may use the AC to help control humidity, you should still have that dehumidifier as a backup during those times of the year where you're not going to be running that AC.
Absolutely.
That's right. So you're going to have to install a dehumidifier anyway. So what's the point in using the HVAC to control humidity? Even in basements. I have seen basements where they've put their own separate system, separate from the upstairs of the living space. That system never turns on because it's cooler in the basement, right, than typically it is in the rest of the house. So unless you lower that temperature to be cooler than that space, it's never going to turn on. So appreciate you coming out and doing this video with us. I'm Michael Church with Josh Commander. We hope you make it a happy and blessed day, and we'll see you later.